He's back. What does he think?
All right, we can get started.
Okay.
All right, before we start, what is the order of operation? Are we just talking about Banlist today, or what? Like, what's the game plan?
We're gonna talk about Banlist first, and then we're gonna talk about broader YCS
Houston?
implications after.
Well, why don't we talk about Houston first and then the Banlist? Because Houston's like,
Well, I'm excited to talk about the Banlist. I'm not excited to talk about Memento.
Okay, so combined creation is $20, but you only need one
Okay,
of
I
those.
did not know that one.
he should not be. He will not. The people who bought him at 30 are dumbasses. Yeah, I'm also super excited to be able to talk about the fact that Race top to fucking YCS.
Yeah, sure, dog. Whatever.
Fuck you.
Howdy, everybody. My name is Grant, and I'm here with some lovely individuals. First of all, it is Nick.
Hello.
Then it is Noah.
Grant, you sound sick.
I am not sick. I just am very nasally right now.
His energy level is so low. He's not excited to talk about
Memento
the cool
YCS,
things that happened
my
this
energy
weekend.
level is low. And then for the first time since like episode 1, we've got Eli.
Eli.
He accidentally showed up, so we're rocking with it. Today we're going to talk about the ban list, and then after that we're going to talk about YCS Houston. I imagine one of these discussions will be far more interesting than the other. Ban list. Before we go into the specifics of what got hit, what are our general thoughts about it?
The overall like state of what I think about the ban list.
Yeah.
So, all right, ban list overall very good. I am sitting here trying to reel and try to think about what I want to change to accommodate the things that happened. So overall good though.
Noah, a person who plays the game very often nowadays, what do you think?
I think they didn't hit Fiendsmith. They didn't hit Heroes, so they hit Shifter. That's pretty good. Oh, sorry. That's pretty much the. But also,
They hit Shifter.
like this. What is this like OCG or Master Duel ass like semis? That's so weird. It doesn't feel like a TCG list.
I've stewed on it for a little bit, and I think I don't like the semis, but they're fine. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'd
Yeah.
rather just play against Ryziel with 3x'd.
I don't know.
We
I
can
think-
talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with the unlimits. I don't think these are notable at all. Cyberjar, 2 danger monsters, Eva and Monkey Board. These are like inconsequential, as all unlimits usually are.
I agree, but again, this is just like a perspective thing. I think when you hit a critical massive dangers, like decks that just want to have bodies and like have good grave effects, like the fact that there's gonna be 9 dangers, there might be a world when Orcust comes out, like they play Fiendsmith, Danger, Orcust instead of playing the Asmina stuff, just because the free bodies like are just good. I'm not.
Yeah,
But
I
there's
don't
some
know.
world that I think those cards will actually see play.
I don't think they're gonna be that impactful. Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't
Is
like
Orcust Allen?
Orcust is in June.
Okay.
You know, nothing really notable on the unlimit list. The semi-limit list is the thing I'm excited to talk about because it is really weird. So we'll link the ban list in the description so you guys can follow along at home. I'm sure you guys already know what it is though. We'll start with the kind of the least notable ones. Collapse Serpent and Wyvern Buster went from 1 to 2. Eli, what are the implications in Dragon Link?
Nothing.
Is Dragon Link playable?
No. You
All
don't.
right, you
don't.
have heard
I'm
it here
saving
first.
you the 2 hours. I'm saving you 2 hours of labbing it. You can't lab this. It's not real.
We also got back Sharvara. I think this is nothing, functionally nothing.
I think you're wrong on that.
I don't think
There are a
Unchained's
ton of
gonna be a deck.
I don't know. I think you're just wrong there. I think Unchained is a deck, and especially with the Fiendsmith cards now, it can play through a lot of stuff. And having 2 Shavara makes like a meaningful difference in lines you can do. There are a ton of Unchained lines where if you don't have 2 Shavara, you can't do them because you want one in hand and you need to use you want to dump one in the graveyard. I think Unchained very well could be a very playable tier 1.5 or rogue deck. I truly think that deck will do something and be playable.
I don't know. I think
And no Dweller makes that deck even better.
I think the time for like a deck that plays like 5 Garnets and 45 is kind of past.
Wasn't there a very brief period of time where Unchained was played recently?
Yeah, it was literally a scene play. It saw play in Snake Eye format when it played the musket stuff. I don't think that statement's very valid. I think we
I
will
don't
see
know.
that Unchained will probably be able to do something on a regional level and maybe a YCS level.
I don't know. I don't really think that
Is
like
that-
musket deck was ever any like real good. It was fine.
If it was that long ago, then I don't know. I feel like these decks, I wouldn't say they've outscaled Snake Eyes, but it's been a while. I'm not sure. I would expect it to maybe be like rogue playable. I wouldn't expect it to like win anything.
Yeah, it might be rogue. But that's all I would give it.
Well, also considering the rest of the hits on the list, but never mind. I'll get there when we get there.
I don't know. I don't think the hits that they do later in the list make up for the fact that Unchained's like a 3-year-old deck at this point or 2-year-old deck.
Well, yeah, but also some of the big reasons that Rogue was bad was a lot of Rogue decks either lost to Dweller or they lost to Shifter, you know? Like, I feel like being Rogue last format is going to mean a lot less than it will this upcoming one.
Yeah, I truly think like we're gonna go. We went to a format that was pretty like narrow. Like the last format, like yeah, like, you can play whatever you want as long as you're prepared. But overall, like the format itself was pretty narrow. Like there was like 6 decks that are probably the decks you expect to do well on top of YCS. I think as we go into this next format, that like that percentage is gonna open up. Like you're gonna see more decks just be playable because of these hits.
No, I agree. It's going to be a wider format. I just don't think Unchained's necessarily going to be like a top deck in that situation.
Well, not top, but like it
We're
might
saying
get like top
we're
32
saying it
in
can top a
YCS.
YCS.
Something
Like
silly.
I don't
Yeah,
think
but
that's
like
unheard
anything
of.
can top a YCS, you know? Like Lab just top.
I
That
don't
deck
know
is
if
not
that's
good.
true.
I don't know. I don't see the vision, but whatever. They also moved Snake Eye Ash and Poplar from 1 to 2. Congratulations, Noah.
Yep.
I was thinking about that on the drive to locals because we have a locals we go to on Sunday where we watch the Banlist happen live. And I was thinking about the drive over is like they probably don't need to keep Poplar and Snake Eye Ash at 2 or at 1. They could probably come back as long as they don't have OSS.
Yeah, without OSS, like the entire game has changed. Like,
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, with the bonfire limit too, it's like you still have the net same amount of Snake Eye cards, but I'd much rather draw bonfire than Poplar.
Yeah, the bonfire limit is a problem for Snake Eyes, but who's playing Snake Eyes?
Yeah, true.
Um, and then the actual interesting part about this ban list is they went to
well,
both
but,
the
but
top-
you skipped over Cyberjar.
I skipped over
come on.
Cyberjar. You're right. Let's all acknowledge that Cyberjar is now semi-limited. All right, so
Is it
the
morph-
Ryziel cards have all
Oh
been
no, sorry,
semi.
it's Morphing Jar. Sorry,
It's
it's,
a
one of
morphing
the jar
jar?
cards.
Sure, whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm playing
Empty Jar. Hey, listen, people can play Empty Jar for fun now. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I'm sure they can play Empty Jar for fun. That is something they can do. You are right. The interesting part about the semi-limited list is now that they've actually started using it. So they've semi'd X'd Ice and Sword, and they've also semi'd Dormouse, Rabbit, and Underground. This is like an unprecedented TCG change. This is like a normal Sunday for the OCG.
Yeah, TCG on average chooses to not do consistency hits because they'd rather like just remove the power of a deck than just say, "Oh, it's happening less now."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the last time I can think they did something like this was semi-unicorn and semi-sprite starter for that whatever year that Nats was, and then after that Nats ended, they immediately came back to 3.
That's
Yeah,
so funny.
it was
Why'd
kinda crazy.
they do that?
Because they want to hit the decks, but didn't want to take them out of contention, and that's the same thing happening here. Like, we don't want to remove these decks from the metagame, but we don't want to make it so they're like awkwardly positioned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've kind of thought about it, and I think Ryziel is like pure Ryziel is like kind of somewhat functionally unchanged. You lose to draw, you go -1 a bit more, but relative to the rest of the meta, I think it is functionally unchained. Malice, I think, took a humongous hit with these semi-limits. Lord of mercy, that deck is inconsistent as it was, and now we have 3 less.
I like this.
You like this?
I also think it's like putting the Raziel names to the 2 is so inconsequential because like if they put X to 1, that meaningfully changes how you have to play. Because like I'm gonna use the Fiendsmith setup for example. The Fiendsmith setup uses 2X in its normal setup, but if I only had 1, I can't do that setup. I have to either go through another ice or something like that. But now it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, I would have preferred they keep all these cards at 3 to be completely honest, or like chose one of each, or like Dormouse and X and put them both to 1. It's just super weird what they've chosen to do.
Yeah,
I do
very interesting.
I do appreciate that Ryziel is now forced to use the bad searcher that makes them lose a card. I like that.
That's
I do not
true.
like that they're going to search Lancia and Lancia me and make me unable to activate Crystron this turn.
This is true. I like that they have to go -1 to combo now. They're playing 7th Ascension. Holy lord.
I don't think it's that bad. Like, it kind of sucks. It more so just makes those cards like bad top decks, or like top decking Bonfire. That card, like like that's the difference here.
Mm-hmm. Or
I
like
also think it's
thrusting.
interesting with those two decks because at least I didn't realize this till I was watching whatever I think it was semis like Ryziel uninterrupted actually like can well what was the match where the guy just desires out of a brick after his bonfire got ashed and he had like the board but he still had like 6 cards in his hand because he got desires and then uh cross draw
That I could not
and
tell
Yeah.
you.
Malice draws like 7 cards over the course of the turn. So I do appreciate the kind of I don't know. It's an interesting design choice to go minus to start, but if your combo still fully resolves, then you are ending with maybe not a full hand, but like you've drawn cards over the course of the turn.
Yeah, I think that if you don't have like 3 hand traps in your hand at the end of a combo, most combos are like fine. Or at least all the Ryziel and Malice combos, if you don't have 3 hand traps in hand, are like perfectly passable.
We'll have to see if this actually makes that big of an impact. I will say, I think it's weird that they didn't want to remove the Fiendsmith Razor deck from being as a viable option. Maybe from Konami's perspective, having to play Takan makes that deck like less desirable, but I'm
Hmm.
not sure.
Yeah, the Fiendsmith deck took like a hit by proxy, but I think it's probably still fine, you know?
Were you expecting them to remove Ryziel from the game?
I was expecting them to remove the
No,
Fiendsmith
but
cards
I
from the game.
think, but like we talked about, they're almost set up for the Raziel, like the Fiendsmith Raziel combo. Is if X at 1, you meaningfully have to change the combo line if you only have 1 X, because that means you have to go -1 to summon ice from hand that you search off of sword, and you don't get the dump and exceeds to graveyard for free. Like it meaningfully impacts the setup there.
Also, like, just even as it stands right now, they've only got 3 copies of Ice, where before they had 6 copies of Ice. So,
Mm-hmm.
now they have to, like, Ice isn't as easily accessible Fiendsmith engine anymore. You know, Nick
Yeah.
was talking
Well,
to us yesterday, and I think he has a version of Fiendsmith where you're just playing 3 tracks just to see it.
Yeah, because like you're in a position where like you just need to see the Fiendsmith cards now, because you're like less likely to just be able to go into them via the Raziel stuff, which is fine.
I think Pure probably overtakes for, like, the better build, like, but not by a very wide margin.
I just don't know if Pure has enough power. Like I just don't like Pure just like with only 1 detonator. If that get like once it gets outed, and if your opponent's able to out cross or something, I just don't see like what your push is. You know what I mean? We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, this is essentially we're just running back the second cash format at this point.
It feels like we're literally just doing what we did the cash. Like
Yeah.
so.
And 23 Nats was a good format, so I'm not that disappointed. To the limited list. First of all, Bestial Drew a Swern, the only Bestial to get hit on this ban list. I think that's kind of crazy.
I think it's reasonable. Like I know people like and people like are like don't like Mag, but I think if you ban Mag, like a card like Lubellion, it's just not worth playing. Like Regain's a cool card, but if you're not getting like actual advantage off of Regained, like it just isn't. I don't know. It
I
just
mean,
feels kind of.
if you had to play Lubellion to get Magnamut, I'd agree with you, but as it stands right now, like, Magnamut is the best Malice extender and also, like, a DD Crow and also a Baldric on your opponent's turn if they go first. So, like, I think it's just too
I agree, but like I don't like. People always say it's like, oh, if you have Magma, you instantly win the game. I'm like, I think Mag helps a lot, but I don't think he's that like that game determinative. He's very good, but
Yeah.
I think the only case where Magdeburg instantly wins you the game is if your only card is the Bestial, or your only card is the Fiendsmith Engraver, right? Like it's
Yeah,
not
like
that good.
Yeah, it's good into exactly the Fiendsmith, but it's also like it's also still really good into the pure version because you can hit the Eclipse Twins in like their end phase if you can stop their duo drive. So it's not like it doesn't have applications.
no, it has applications, but it's like it's not the end all be all. Like you having a Magnamute isn't just gonna instantly win you the game. Like just having the card, it helps. It's like not a bad card, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you have combo plus Magnamut and you are playing Malice, you have won the game. But
But there's a difference there, is because
yeah.
for Malice, like the Magnamute's representing a body follow up and is an extender. Like I don't know. That's
Oh.
just a different. That's like a different like world.
Yeah, I still think it's time to go, but actually, so
I don't.
I'm looking at my Malice core in front of me. I actually just realized something. They hit 2 ultras. They don't usually do that. They hit 5 ultras down to 2, actually. Huh. Weird.
Well, they've been out for a while now.
I mean, like 4 months. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just didn't notice that they did that, and it's kind of weird that they did.
Maybe that's the reason they semied them instead of just limiting one of them. Well, a contributing factor. I won't say the reason.
Yeah.
Though I will say on the Bestials, that keeping them around kind of feels like the
Konami's way
softest Fiendsmith hit they could do,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I think that's a reasonable like viewpoint. This is something we talked about previously on our like prediction list. There's no good way to hit the Fiendsmith cards without really removing them from contention. It feels like you could ban Moon, but now certain decks just can't play it because they don't have any other access to the engine. Or oh, you limit Engraver. Well, now the engine itself is really not that recursive anymore because you only have one guy. I think that's where Konami was. Like Konami's like, we can't hit the engine yet because we don't really have a good way of hitting it without getting the reprints done. So we're gonna reprint and then we'll hit it later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think whatever list we get after Nats will probably be the one that takes them behind the shed. But I don't blame them. Like, the Fiendsmith cards are responsible for like the best format in a year and a half. So like, I'm not upset that they didn't, hit them at all.
Oh, I think the feats with the cards promote a very long and like drawn out gameplay, which is good.
The next limit is, and I know we're all gonna be happy about this, is Shifter.
Thank the Lord,
Hallelujah.
it's been. Well, looking at the
6
years,
years.
it's been 6 years. Thank you, Konami. Thank you for removing the mistakes of the R&D team.
Listen, man, I just want to say the first time I play a Shifter deck.
Nobody gets to have a shifter deck
No,
now.
this is what needed to happen. The second Grant plays a stupid deck that everyone hates, they've hit it. They hit the shifter. It finally happened. We did it with Super Heavy. We did it with Manadium. We got Baron gone. This is glorious. Perfection.
It's there like you need to short whatever deck that I like immediately start playing. If I had played Snakes, that format would have not nearly been as bad.
You should have played Snake
I
Eyes.
should have played Snake Eyes. I kept saying like they better kill this card because I don't want to like put it in my deck list for post Allen because it's just like
He's been complaining. We had to make him put it in his deck, and now he was complaining forever about it. Finally did it, and now it's gone.
That's true.
He's like, I don't have to play his damn card anymore.
I was boarding it for a while, but that's just because there were a lot of Malice at our locals. But it's gone. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Good riddance.
Well, not
Well-
gone.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
gone.
It's functionally. You're gonna see it.
Listen.
A
If
third
someone
as
plays
much.
it as a one of in their deck and I get shifted, I'll take the 12.5% chance, man. I'll take the odds.
I'm gonna
Do you
keep-
guys think people will do that?
Yes, I think they will do that.
Oh,
I think.
Yeah,
I
I
think you need a
wholeheartedly
little
agree.
Like, you don't have to make any main deck concessions in Malice to accommodate Shifter. So I don't see why you wouldn't. You don't even
Man.
have to make extra deck concessions. You just you end on Cryptor, and that's it. Or like the Trap card in Cryptor.
It is still, unfortunately, a very good card. Though, who knows? Maybe because they're doing like a Master Duel OCG ass list, this is just a stopgap and they'll ban it after Nats.
Maybe. I think 1 is probably where it's going to stay. I'm frankly shocked that it's down from 3 anyway.
I can't wait
Yeah,
for
I
grand
was-
finals, the Nats finals, where it's Malice against Fiendsmith Ryziel, and the Ryziel player draws exactly Fiendsmith and tracked, and the Malice player draws the one of Shifter and instantly wins.
Well, I mean, Shifter's not an auto win, most of the time. Like you still have to deal with a detonator, but yeah.
He's lying. He's just lying to you.
MF is scoping. No, it's gonna be a very awkward. I'm gonna play with 1 shifter in my main deck and 2 of some other hand traps to keep the ratios. After shifter, masterpiece has come back. This is annoying but probably inconsequential.
I don't think this does anything. Like if Draco had 3 diagram, there might be a discussion to be had. But Draco with only 1 diagram, it's inconsistent. Like it needs a lot of other stuff to go for it to work out well.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, it's not gonna matter at all.
Didn't it also just play like all the counter trap floodgates?
it also does not have as many floodgates anymore because everything's been limited. So it's
Yeah.
like there are still a bunch it can play. It can still play like lose 1 turn, erupt. There's another one I'm thinking of. I'm just like I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
Inspector
but-
border.
Yeah, they can play border. Like they can play all that stuff.
I think I've only played against this deck at 1 event in Toss, and I was on salad, so I just kind of kept rage popping the floodgates. Pretty nice. So that's my only experience with this deck, though. I feel like if you didn't have that, it seems kind of toxic. So cool that it's back. If we had to take this back for the cosmic to balance out the cosmic good that was done from Shifter, I guess that's a fair trade.
Now, everybody, I want to.
Your boy's back. Just pop off.
Listen, he has risen. He is here.
What makes me more mad about this entire thing is you're not even gonna play him.
He's
You're
not
so
good.
excited that he's back,
You
and then
can't
you're
go
not gonna
-1
play
to
him.
find circular anymore. It's not possible.
You went -1 in the format that he was in the last format he was played, and it was good.
Yeah, but like you go -1 into Cashier and be fine. Listen. I'll play him. I'll figure out a way to play him like at some point. I am putting together like a Adagnister math mech list for Dana, so that she can play math mech.
Oh.
I have not told her she can technically play math mech in Ryzeal yet.
Yeah, I guess
Don't
it is a
do
rank
that.
4 engine.
It is a 1-card rank 4, so it technically does it.
Doesn't Sigma lock you in the only summoning Cybers though from the extra deck?
So yes, but sorry, it's not a 1-card rank 4. If you dump Nabla, you will not get Cyberse locked, and then you just have to resummon Nabla off Alan Bershin. And then that's how you get the diameter and rotation for the negate.
Oh, this seems so bad.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's there.
Fair enough.
But my boy is free. Hallelujah. Thank the Lord. I was so happy. I called my wife immediately to tell her at the locals. She was popping off from me. It was wonderful. There are like 2 people at my work that don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, but they know I like Circular. And so I told them. They were like, "Yeah, good for you."
The fact that you talk to your coworkers about any level of your involvement in Yu-Gi-Oh is crazy.
What?
Literally
Yeah.
crazy.
That's not. Listen, it would be different if I didn't work with other people who played Yu-Gi-Oh.
I guess, yeah.
That's true. It took me, I think, 2.5 years to tell my friends, like law school friends, about the game.
And what they think about it.
I don't know. They didn't seem to judge me, but I feel like they might be, just behind my back.
The psychic damage.
Though I did get to start out with the, I went to nationals thing, so they think I'm good at the game. So
That's what I did with my parents. They think I'm like good
Yeah.
at the game because I go to Nats every year.
exactly, and we are, and you should listen to us and subscribe.
True. Praise be. Next up, Ryzeal Detonator Limit. This is another cash format staple. This one's really weird. It matters a lot more than it initially seems.
This is the thing I've been mulling over the most. Is I've been talking to our buddies, and I truly think all of the other hits to Raziel do not matter. The bonfire, all the semi-limits, nothing, none of that matters. The one detonator feels like it's gonna matter way more than I think people are gonna give it credit for. Pure not having a push matters. Fiendsmith not being able to just slap a detonator into boards anymore is really unfortunate. Like it's just like the amount of times you just make a detonator without thinking. I don't know if you can do that anymore because otherwise, if he gets outed, then you just lose. So,
I like the idea that you can't just haphazardly throw detonator around, but
but it's kind of true though. It like if you summon a detonator and don't have a cross set up to make another one to put it back and make it again, I do not see a world where it being at 1 doesn't matter.
Mhm.
It'll be weird.
So, actually, question on that. What are the alternatives that Ryzio can make? Because not to spoil the list for you, dear listener, but Ryzio also lost another like generic rank 4 tool. Like, what do they do now?
So in Fiendsmith, there are people all like pre-list that were doing the Photon Star Liege line to not lose to cards like Metaltronus, Ultimate Slayer, Book of Moons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a world you probably have to go to if you want to end on like Detonator or Rank 4 and Caesar in the best hands. Or there's a world where like in Pure you do a setup where maybe you don't make Detonator turn 1 and you end on like a Baguska board or something. I really don't know, but I will say like cards like Ragnar Zero have seen play in Pure and are good. Because like that, there's a free like board interaction, like popping card drawing is good. Cards like Tornado Dragon are still gonna be good cards. I just don't know what that like. Razel to me right now feels like a very toolboxy deck. It'll play the rank 4s that come up the most, and will either end on them or like crack boards using them, kind of thing.
Interesting. That's going to be interesting to see with like, because I feel like one of the reasons that Ryzio was the top deck was it had the ability to just kind of shut down a lot of rogues, and I guess I don't know how many more. Well, I guess Baguska can kind of do that, but it's still, I would say, shuts down less decks than Dweller did. So like,
I don't even. Baguska is good in theory, but it loses to the cards that were not hit on this list, which are called Fiendsmith cards. So like,
yeah,
it's interesting.
that's the biggest thing about this list is it's just very interesting.
Wait, how does Baguska lose to the Fiendsmith cards?
Because if you open up Engraver, you go Engraver, add Activate Track, summon out Lurie, make Link 1, summon out Lacrima, bring back Engraver, make Sequence, and you should have enough material in Engraver to make Desiree, and you just link it off.
Oh, I see.
It takes.
You won't have any follow-up, but you're outing Baguska in that setup.
and you've only had to go through an engraver.
This format is about to look so much more like the cash format. It's crazy, actually.
But the thing about the the only thing I'm gonna say is with the cash format, like the best deck after the list was still like cash. It was just like sometimes cash will open a hand that just is kind of bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like it will just happen.
Sometimes you just did not play.
Yep.
It would be very funny to see Ryziel demoted to a Baguska deck.
I think that there's a world. So there was like a popular board right before YCS Anaheim where people were ending on like Baguska Detonator Cross. It was called like the soft lock, or at least that's what DB Grinder called it. And that was like the board that you were ending on because they'd have to spend like non-engine or a critical amount of engine to out the Baguska and the Detonator and the Cross. And so when you would pass back to you, you just untap and swing. Next up on the list is Bonfire. Who called it? Everyone said it was going to 1, and it did. There was a part of me that thought it wasn't going to go to 1 because everybody thought it was going to go to 1.
That would have been a very funny situation.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there's anything really to note about it. It's a Rhoda.
It's probably the best road of the game I've seen in a hot minute, just because of the decks that have been coming out. Like,
Yeah, they've been stacking some pyros recently.
I do think consistency hits are very interesting now that we are in kind of like we've power crept to the point where most decks aren't really running that many hard bricks anymore.
Yeah, pretty much we're like all the good decks run soft garnets.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, I feel like we've kind of, the community has not looked very kindly on consistency hits in the past, but with decks being more consistent than ever, I wonder if this is the start of Konami just semiing 3 good cards in every list and then limiting their Rhoda.
My lord, I hope they do not keep doing this. That would be super annoying.
It would.
Yeah, I think a big part of this is just like they want these cards to be playable at Nats for the Nats season, and the only way to make them playable but lower the power level is to do consistency hits. That's all they can do.
The next change, Brilliant Fusion. I don't think this is the most consequential hit. or unhit any, on the list. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna do anything.
It'll help the Gem Knight support that comes out in June. I think Brilliant Fusion as a card is very good. It helps a lot of like decks that want to like commit to going into Brilliant Fusion because it does all their entire setup. Will play this card. Like Supercons will most definitely play this card with the new support. Gem Knights will play this card. There's some probably random other decks that will just say I will play the 1/1 Garnet ratio because I will search Brilliant Fusion.
How do you search it? Is that with the new stuff?
So you can search it with new stuff in Gem Knights. The other way most people access this engine is through the Predaplan engine. So you go Orph Scorpio and Darlatonia to search any fusion card.
Yep.
But there's other options. I think like Seeker Fusionist can search it. There's another one I'm blanking on, but like there's enough cards that could search a fusion card where like there's a world where like other decks could play this.
Okay. I don't know. That I will say, until the Stampede reprints were shown, I did not think that Brilliant Fusion was going to be like the old card that came back. I really kind of confused that it wasn't. Well, I guess it was Morphing Jar, kind of, but I don't know. They haven't done a just unlimit one random old thing. It feels like in a while that weren't like archetypal. Surprised Heavy Storm isn't back, but I guess the 3 back row clears is what Konami wants.
Next limit is Cross Out. Hallelujah. Thank the Lord.
I gotta say I was wrong. I was not expecting them to. I wanted them to, but I thought they would not hit main deck staples. I will say in my defense, this doesn't feel like a TCG list anyways, and I was basing my thoughts off of what they do for TCG lists, but like,
I
damn,
think it's a fair viewpoint, my man.
Sucks to be wrong.
I think this is a really good hit. It's really frustrating when you play a game and you use a hand trap and your opponent's like, cross out, and you're like, all right, well, cool, and they go, talents, look at your hand. I'm like, man, that really sucks, you know?
Yeah, you could even say God damn and then get a match loss at a YCS.
Longtime listeners will know that the next card is my least favorite card in the entire game, and it's Tactics. Finally got limited. Holy.
Again, I'm gonna make the statement. When I build a deck, I'm just gonna slap a talents in it. Like it's just like as if it's a good going first card if you see it. It's a good going second card. Like this card now it's a one of. It's like it's like going back to GOAT format. I'm gonna slap all the good one ofs in my deck. Like
I like the idea of like boarding talents going second with a thrust package. That's what Malice does right now. If you're not playing cross out, which now you cannot be playing cross out. So, but I've never hated talents going second. I've only ever had beef with it when I go first, when the person with the talents goes first.
Yeah, and that's another way this feels kind of like an OCG or Master Duel list. It seems like they've set up the 3 going first spells being called by crossout talents, kind of like they set up like the 3 answers to Max C. It's very interesting, or even kind of like setting up 2 lightning and harpies, like just making these kind of archetype seems like the wrong word, but just soft, same function cards, but having a variety in them. And I do think that's cool, but I don't know, the cross out to 1, I would have just like, I realize what they did and I appreciate the hit, but it just seems like of all 3 of them, I would have preferred that one to be banned just because it seems really like inconsistent.
It being a stacky one of will annoy a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've lost a lot of games to my opponent opening up the 1 call by the grave, and now it's just gonna feel the same way when I get cross-outed.
Yeah,
like,
but it's also
my stance is like, should they be banned? I think so, but like they went from 3 to 1, so I'm not gonna complain about it.
Well, I will complain for forever, and it's also weird that they have 3 of them now, because if like they're good enough going second, except for like maybe cross out, that I don't know, it just kind of puts them in a weird spot. Because if like I don't know, I guess this isn't true with the decks. No, Malice is kind of true, but like Ryzeal, the deck, or I guess sorry, with Malice, deck doesn't need too much help going first, like a game 1, and if it's games 2 and 3, why would you not just put in auto win floodgates?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be
They kind of do that though. You by using thrust. So like when Malice goes first, they go with the intention. It's like if I got Landscape, I'm gonna thrust, and I'm gonna either set D barrier, DDG, or Sanctum. Then I'm gonna skip my opponent's turn.
Right, but sorry, I guess I'm saying this poorly. Three going first cards seems a touch excessive in in a good chunk of main decks. And games two and three, you're always putting in floodgates. So it seems like it's going to be a very interesting, for me at least, to see if the three of them are an auto inclusion or if it's just like, oh, if you need something, play talents. If you need something else, play called by. And if you need, and if you're playing a Ryziel that could really help with a third thing, play a cross out.
Yeah, cross out right now is weird because like the decks that want to play it the most, I think, is Malice to cross out Lancia, but you can justify playing like the ratio. So like cross out's only going to be good when the things that stop your deck are in everybody's deck. So like only
Yeah.
Ryziel really will be taking advantage of it at the moment.
Yeah, Raziel. Any version of Raziel will probably play the crossout called by talents, just because they can hit Droll, they can hit the Fuas, they can hit Prulia, they can just hit all that stuff.
Hmm. And that is it for the limits. There are 4 bans from this list. 2 of them for Malice, 2 of them for, I guess, 1.5 for Ryziel, and half of 1 for Mermail. Malice hits, 1 matters, 1 doesn't. Nightmare Griffin. Nightmare Griffin was never like the power behind the Malice end board. I'm pretty sure like you could end on any Link 4 and it would be the exact same. Sometimes I would just end on Firewall Dragon just because like the stuff didn't line up to have enough Link material and it never mattered. Or I'd end up Cybers locked early in the combo. I don't think there's anything notable to say. It's glad it's gone.
Yeah, I will say this feels very an excuse to future proof.
Yeah.
I would
Uh,
agree. This feels like a few like by hitting like Griffin, they don't have to worry about decks that are just gonna do like Griffin combo setups. It just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is that I can't do the thing where you make the Griffin and then you link into Requiem anymore. That has come up a non-zero amount of times.
Yeah. They're just banning. That was the Fiendsmith hit.
Yeah, they hit a Light Fiend.
They,
The next one is Lord of Mercy. I can't believe they did this. Link Decoder. I know we talked about it last episode that this might be something they do. I thought this was going to be like the second time they hit Malice, they'll hit Link Decoder. I didn't think it'd be the first time. When it comes to like Link Decoder, it's really awkward because it forces Malice to play really hard to nib. Because before, what you could do is if you didn't have a way to beat nib, but you had like a way to put 3 Malice bodies on the field, like you drew Dormouse, Chessy Cat, or something like that. You would make Ransom with 2 names plus a decoder, resummon the decoder, and you could hold the underground for whenever you got nibbed until you made Binder, and then you just activate underground, splash Mage Binder, keep playing. Or if you made Binder by this point, you bring back Binder, you reset a trap, and then you just keep playing. But now you are going to, if you go for that line, you're going to need to use the Binder, or sorry, you're going to use the underground a lot earlier. In conjunction with having less names, so you have to use it earlier anyway. So this is a very weird hit, but I think it just forces Malice to play like really heavy into a bunch of hand traps that it was otherwise able to just dodge left and right.
I don't know. That seems kind of like a healthy hit to me for the combo. I'll say the more combo. Well, no, the second most combo heavy deck in the format.
Yeah, I think it's a fine hit. I'm just surprised it happened this quickly, I guess. I think that if you
Yeah,
hit Link Decoder and hit nothing else, like Malice is like in a wacky state for the next several weeks, and like probably doesn't matter in the long run, but I don't know. It's just super weird.
I think Malice needed more cards that it can lose to. I think right now there's kind of a lack of like hard out Malice cards. Like there's
You
not,
see,
it doesn't really lose to that many things directly.
yeah, but like the
except
things
for
it
the
lost
silver
to,
bullet.
the things that it lost too hard. Like if you Lancia or Meowls me, I am not in a good place. Um,
But yeah, but that's two things
yeah, but
that
that's
are
like
both
6.
probably sideboard.
Yeah, but like if you're playing like an Impulse deck, you could play Impulse. Meows is good into other matchups. Lancia is good into Crystron and like sometimes Mermail.
Right, but you're never main decking those. People could feasibly main deck Nib.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
But they could do that anyway. Nib was still good into Malice. Didn't do everything on its own, but it was fine.
Right, but you said there were ways to play around it.
There are, but there are ways to play around Lancia, and that is where you play the Fiends version to play around Lancia or Chaos Hunter, and there are ways to play around Meowls that is just like making IP and passing. I don't know. I
So
just
they weren't
expected
auto loses.
those are way more of auto losses than the other ones. You have to be playing build specific stuff to beat like Lancia. Like I have to be playing the Fiendsmith cards, which not everybody, and in fact a minority of people were doing. Two more hits, both of them for Ryziel, I suppose. Abyss Dweller is the big one. Good riddance. Lord have mercy. I'm surprised that it took them this long to take this one out behind the shed. But I guess that's like everything they banned way too late, you could say that about.
I want to agree with you, but like, and this is something like I really don't like giving Konami credit for, but like sometimes there are cards that I think the community truly like can't stand and really hate. Like I'm gonna look at Shifter for example, but like Shifter's existence in some formats is like the only reason why some other decks were like worth playing. Like looking at like tier format, like in the tier zero format of like tier elements, like the reason Flu was a playable deck was because they had a 33% chance to like at least stall a turn against tier. Like, you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know. I think the same thing with Dweller is like Dweller is a card. The set like it throughout the course is like it's been a card. It's been good. It's never been like the most dominant thing in the world. And like it finally reached a point where a deck is now consistently making it every single turn or every single game. That they're like, okay, we want other decks to be like to thrive in this metagame, and we've seen the decks that want to play when this card's not around, like Memento, Fire King, Mermail, and by taking this card out, like those decks just inherently are gonna be more playable, and I think it's what Konami wanted.
Yeah, someone posted in the Discord earlier, like they didn't realize how many uh uh great decks like lose to Dwell, and they were like, I don't know if we should be letting this many graveyard decks into the metagame. Which I think is just
It is
funny.
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely, like we talked about earlier, a widening of the format. I personally appreciate it because going into Nats specifically, it opens up like hard meta calls because this is like other than geez, the fact that they're releasing a set right before Nats, which is just so cool of them. Like the ability to make hard calls for Nats, I think is really just like cool. Like I don't know, somebody saying playing like Fiendsmith Rescue Ace, maybe not the best fire deck in the room, but maybe doesn't lose to the same things that everyone else does. I think
Hmm.
that's a cool thing to see, and I think the fact that Ryziel could make Dweller and to an extent that Malice could just completely freely use Shifter did effectively really narrow the format. And I don't know, maybe it's more of a ebb and flow between narrow and wide formats is the healthiest thing. But I do think that it's if Konami wants to give top decks tools that beat out all the Rogue and makes it necessary so that Rogue has like necessitates an out to Dweller or that it can play well enough under Shifter, like the better way to do that for me is in archetype tools that can't just be thrown into what happens to be a rank 4 deck. You know what I mean?
No, I completely agree. Like if you look at like I'm gonna use Mermail as an example right now. Every Mermail list that's done well is on Xyz Encore at minimum in their sideboards. Because if they go into a Braziel matchup and their opponent makes Dweller, they have to have an out for Dweller or they instantly lose.
Yep.
Hmm.
So it's like they've won. Now they don't have to worry about the card, and now they don't have to play Xyz Encore in their sideboard just to be able to play the game. And the same thing applies for like other decks like Crystron. Like Crystron was playing Droplet, and they had to see Droplet to win, or even have a chance to play.
Speaking of Mermail, and this is a very funny Mermail hit, and we'll explain why in a moment, but Bahamut Shark is now banned. Um, I'm surprised they went with Bahamut over Toad, but I kind of see the vision if you want to keep it playable for, like, I guess, Paleo or Sprite. No longer will Mermail, or I guess Ryziel for that matter, be hitting you with the totally awesome. One of the funny things about the Bahamut ban, and we were talking, one of our buddies, Sam, he plays Mermail. One of the things about the Bahamut ban that's, like, weird is Bahamut is like one of the two or 3 water rank 4s that can detach for cost. So it's I think it's exactly like 4 of them, one of which removes the body from the field, so we're not considering that pendulum thingy. And 2 of them are here. It's Abyss Dweller and Bahamut that can detach like a material for cost. The third one is, let me look up the name because it is so funny.
It's like Snow Dust Giant, right?
It's like Snow Dust Giant, yeah, and like it does literally nothing. It is a beast warrior that gives itself counters. I think you have to reveal a water hand to give yourself counters. Functionally, it does nothing. However, it detaches for cost. It's the last water rank 4 that does that and stays on the field. So now Mermail might be playing that card, which is incredibly funny.
I
We'll
wish
see
we
if it
had-
actually does or not, but it'll be funny if it does.
Yeah, Mermail's in an odd spot because like now instead of like hand ripping you for 3 and then ending on 2 Omni negates, they're just gonna hand rip you for 3. Obviously not good, but like moving in the right direction. This one is my fault. I did signal that I thought Mermail was an interesting deck, so Konami had to get it. Had to.
Yeah,
hit it.
we're doing the community a service.
You guys should be happy that I like the Glue Eater decks, because
At some point, I'm very happy you like the Glue Eater decks, but then I have to play against them at locals. I don't like that.
Yeah, you gotta take the L for the rest of the broader community, though. Oh, wait till Yummy, man. Wait till Yummy.
I cannot wait to ogre the Link one. I'm so excited.
I'm going to chain the Link one. That took an hour to get through, so we don't have a whole lot of time left for the broader metagame discussion from the results of the YCS. Thankfully, they are kind of irrelevant, so we'll just kind of go over the highlights. Memento won. I'm so mad that Memento won. Not because I hate Memento, though I do. It's just
It
'cause
won a
there's, like,
YCS before Malice. Let's go. This deck's so much better than that
It
deck.
is not possible. Malice cannot win a YCS. It's not possible. You're not going through like 6 rounds of Swiss without getting Lanciad.
You know what's so funny is this list is so unaffected. It only played 1 talent. It didn't play cross out. Like this Memento list that won is truly just you could just take it to another YCS.
This isn't Bestial, or this isn't Fiend's Memento. This is just pure Memento.
It's just Goblin Biker Memento. It makes rank 3s and then makes Utopic Future, which is goated, which is actually super cool.
Yeah, dog, sure. Why not?
You could
It's
even
more
take this-
interesting than some of the other decks are doing right now. At least it does something cool.
You could even take this to a YCS and do better than that guy did because Shifter is at 1.
That's true.
Yeah.
hmm
One of our other buddies, Gurchak, played Memento, and we had to like talk him off a ledge with that deck, man. I don't know.
I think this deck's been good. I think the players that dedicate the time to learn and want to know all the lines to it get rewarded very, very much so. Because this deck has some weird setups where, like, if you draw a weird hand of combination of cards, like you just can't do much unless you know what you're doing.
Raziel made it to second place. No one is surprised. Looks like we had roughly the same number of pure as Fiendsmith. Oh no, a couple more Fiendsmith than pure. It looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's expected. Mermail made it. They were doing coelacanth stuff. Same thing it's been doing.
Coelacanth stuff with the berry statue in their sideboard, so they could do that when they go first.
That's a very funny combo.
Malice did make top 8. The guy who was cosplaying as Arius made top 8, and unironically probably should have beat the Memento player, but missed the guy. Not even his opponent. The judges rule sharked him to the fact that he put down the field spell on field before saying he was going to trigger the effects in graveyard for his lab effects because things left the field, which is so unfortunate. I truly think that man probably could have taken this fight. He looked like he was so prepared. He knew he was playing very well across the board. It felt like so.
He got like 3 features, right?
Yeah, no. Honestly, it was insane how many they brought him on a crap ton. But I truly think his list is probably very standard for the grand scheme of Furniture Labyrinth. But I think he played it and piloted it extremely well, which I think is a very big thing to ask for people playing Lab sometimes.
Yeah. Not even like the fact that it's old and power correct, but just the fact that it's a very, very hard deck to get to really play at the level that he was playing at.
Yeah, because if you miss sequence or you're impatient, you're gonna lose to certain cards. It felt like he was very patient and very targeted with his interactions.
2 Blue Eyes made top 32. one of which was playing Fiendsmith and Primite in the deck, which I think is interesting.
It's that crazy. I think it's a little. I think it's more so crazy that they played both and then gave up non-engine slots to make that happen.
Mhm.
That's the thing
Yeah.
that is kind of crazy.
How much do they
When
play?
this is the kind of deck that wants to play a lot of non-engine.
They're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 50. That's not nothing.
It's not bad, but it's less than I would have anticipated for Blue Eyes. Because Blue Eyes like historically I would expect it playing like 18 and 40 or
Yeah.
close to 40.
Um,
So
Lucas Sacco topped with Kashira Malice. I hate everything. God, I hate these cards.
the cash
There's
cards are
so
good,
much-
and they're just gonna get better. Like because now that Detonator's at 1 and the people are gonna play feats with the cards, it just gets better.
It's fine. It's fine. I just hate the cash cards so much. It's not even in Cash Tira the deck. They're fine. I had a bad experience with exactly one regional when I was playing the Cash Tira cards, and then one White Forest topped. They were playing White Forest. Yeah, fair enough.
Oh wow! We should send that list to JP.
I'm sure he has already seen it. Some guy top with fire. We don't really need to talk about him.
No. We do. We have to talk about
We don't need to
this.
talk about him.
Yes, we do.
No.
Okay, so someone made top 32 with Feedsmith Rescue Ace, goated individual. True mad props to this man. I love this deck with a burning passion. I truly had tested it before the Razor stuff came out and after the list. And the deck is playable. It's got some really cool stuff you can do. The one cool thing he was doing, he was main decking Droplet. I really want to know how that card felt for him in the main deck, because it's a card I wouldn't think to play in the main deck right now. But him and the Mentor guy were both main decking Droplet, so at some point there's some level of it has to be alright.
I just hate Rescue Ace so much.
It's been an excellent weekend for Grant. For those who can't tell,
It's
Yeah, he's not having the grandest weekend apparently.
They brought back Circular. Everything can happen now.
Everything can happen.
Everything. Can
Anything.
happen. And then the rest of it's just Ryzeal and Malice. There's two more notable inclusions. One is Ubel, which tops like once every event.
If you don't get Fluid, this deck's crazy.
If you don't get
Yeah.
Fruid- If you don't get Fruid, Peruliad, or Meowled, then this deck is crazy.
I mean, the Peruli is not even that good unless they start with Dark Beckoning Beast.
And then
But
Odeon. So what are they calling this? Tomb Keeper? I'm calling this shit Odeon. One Fiendsmith Odeon topped. Apparently this deck is okay. Somehow.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about it yet. But honestly, it looked interesting at the initial reveals. And then I kind of took everyone else's critiques of it just being like a not great TCG archetype. But then I saw it topped, and I didn't really follow up on it. Do you guys know anything about it?
I will say this. I think the cards themselves in a vacuum are the Odeon cards do a lot. They are very good. My only issue is I think they're it's a weird position to be in where you have so much hinges on the Man with the Mark resolving unless you open up other pieces of the engine. So it's if he doesn't resolve, you're just playing pure Fiendsmith at that point, it feels like. Which isn't bad, it's fine.
There's,
But I think that's just not the world you want to be in.
Yeah, it's fine. He was sideboarding Ash Blossom. That's incredibly funny to me.
That's wild.
It's because it conflicts with Purge, if I had to guess.
The only other thing that was a little weird is he was not playing Duke of Demise, and I thought this version of the deck liked Duke of Demise. And it's he was not choosing not to play it at all, which was different.
Are any of the Odeon cards fiends or zombies?
No, but you can add back Engraver and then get the extra normal summon for the man. So you can do a setup where I think the big Anubis guy might be a zombie. So you can add him back and then go search for the man with the mark and then play like that. I don't know the combo. There was a combo line setup that you could do with the Fiends stuff can get you to the Odeon engine, from my understanding.
I liked the guy who played Blue Eyes Odeon. I did not expect to see that during the feature matches.
I thought he mained top 32, but apparently he didn't pull it through, unfortunately.
Big Sag. He's a spellcaster. I guess he's a spellcaster.
It's kind of cool.
So, with all of that being said, I think the last thing we should talk about is what we are expecting to be the top decks. I guess until Allen comes out, in which case I think we kind of go back to what we were doing earlier, just weaker. I think like it's probably just gonna end up being like Ryzeal and Mermail. I see Malice taking kind of like a back seat for the next like 3 weeks until those cards come out.
No, that deck still seems crazy to me. Like if you're good at the game, you know.
If you're good at the game, wish I could do that. No, I just don't think you have enough starters anymore. Like I'm maxing out on Chessy Cat. That is not where you want to be in 2025.
I don't know. I feel like, and maybe this is a hot take. I think Raziel and Malice. I think both those decks, inherently speaking, right now, are just gonna take like a somewhat like they're gonna like take a backseat until we come to Allen. Because like I think like Raziel gets Star, which is a really nice extender, and other pieces of the engine that makes so they don't lose to hand traps as hard, and then Malice just gets all the pieces that they're missing with the Agnister stuff. So I think for the time being, we're just gonna see like a resurgence of like just kind of Fiendsmith. I don't want to say piles, but like kind of like Fiendsmith oriented decks being like the norm for a little bit, and then you'll have decks like Memento, maybe Mermail, and like Blue Eyes. They'll probably take a front line seat for a little bit while people try to figure out what they want to do with Raziel and Malice.
I don't really see anybody in the next like 3 weeks before Allen comes out being like, damn, I really want to figure out how Malice plays in this format, or like I really want to figure out how Ryzeal plays in this format. I think they're just gonna play whatever rogue deck they like, and then
Yeah,
whatever.
what big events are even happening before Allen?
No big events, but there's like regionals.
Okay.
The weekend of Allen release is Providence, is it not?
Is it? I have no idea.
Sure.
I think it is.
That's in
I believe
Rhode
it
Island?
is. Yeah, it's Rhode Island's Providence. Providence is May 3rd and 4th.
Oh.
So it's the week after.
No,
right?
no,
Okay.
it's the week. No, it's the week of. Because the pre-release
Oh.
is the last Saturday in April.
Oh, okay, yep. So Providence is the first weekend that the Allen cards will be legal, and then we have a YCS in Mexico City, not this weekend but next weekend, so the 19th through the 20th.
All
Well,
right.
those always kind of suck. These like nothing formats. I mean, it's cool because you get to see good players take their favorite rogue decks, but like
Yeah, this,
I will
this-
say-
there's always less incentive to solve it.
True. I'm excited for the next like 3 weeks or like maybe like week or two. I'm just gonna play Fiendsmith Rescue Ace at locals and just have a grand old time. I'm gonna
Yeah.
summon Turb. I'm gonna have my Fiendsmith and just come back every turn and have a good old time.
I might be skipping locals for the next foreseeable future.
Oh, sorry. One thing that I saw a couple of people talking about regarding Banlist. Do you guys think they're paying attention to content creators now? Because I feel like the link decoder hit was like no one was talking about it. Then Joshua Schmidt brought it up, and everyone was like, "Huh."
I think that they walked up to Pac and they asked him to design the band list, and Pac sent them a list.
I will say there are some things on here I could feel that. Like I feel like at some point I will say I think the reason that Griffin got hit on this list was mainly because Konami finally said, let's listen to the community. The community doesn't want to deal with Griffin. Let's remove Griffin from the metagame. Because Griffin itself was not really that big of an issue in all reality.
Yeah. And honestly, the shifter limit seems like, well, I guess it was limited in every other format, but it seems like they're finally like listening more, which is cool and something I hope that keeps up, but not too much because some players are kind of dumb.
I think Peeps put the shifter hit in the best context. Konami likes the fact that Blue Eyes is a meta contending deck, because it's like an anime deck, and you see that deck doesn't like a card called Shifter. It doesn't like cards called doesn't like Dweller. Like both those cards are gone, so feels
That's
like we're trying to make Blue Eyes like an actual like meta viable deck so people can play it without any concerns. And maybe that's why Detonator win the one. They give Blue Eyes a better chance of not having to deal with that card as often. You know what I mean?
If you
Yeah, honestly,
if you view this through the lens of Konami being like, we need Blue Eyes to be playable for Worlds, it makes perfect sense.
Honestly, and I think Peeps was completely right when he was saying that like we are trying to make Blue Eyes like playable for Worlds and Nats. So
all right, just something I saw floating around that I wanted to get your guys' takes on. So in that case, since Konami's listening, what's for the next ban list?
Instead of what's on the next ban list, I have a theory about when the next ban list is going to be. I think it's going to happen at either Euros or the NAWCQ. Because how hype would it be to have like 2,000 people? It's already hype a lot when at Houston or Anaheim or wherever. But imagine you're at Nats and they announce the ban list.
It'd be pretty cool. I won't lie.
It'd be sick. I think it's gonna happen at Euros specifically because it's after NA, but that's when I think it's gonna happen. And the timeline lines up. They usually do it about 4.5 months after each ban list. So the last ban list was in midway through December. We've gone through half a month to get us to January, and then 3 months. I guess 3.5 months. So 3.5 months from the last ban list is about where we were. 3.5 months before that ban list was at the end of August. 3.5 months before that ban list was around May or around April. So it kind of lines up timeline wise.
I think it makes sense.
That'd be really cool. Well, I really hope they take that idea. That'd be
Konami, you can have that one for free.
yeah. No, they can't. They gotta at least boost the pod on stream.
Boost the pod, circular to 3. You can have that idea.
We'll see. I think it's more likely we'll see it at Worlds, just because Worlds will happen after all of the NAWCQ and the EUWCQ. So that's what I would anticipate.
I'm so happy they did it a second time. It would have been so easy for it to be a one-off. The YCS announcement.
I also appreciate that it was like a I don't know. I saw MBT call it like a skit.
Yeah, they do bits now. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's really like cool.
It's fun at least.
Yeah, it seems like a greater effort on their part, which is part of why I wanted to bring up content creators, of them just acknowledging their online space a little bit more, which is something that I think is like, I don't know, very important for modern companies to do. And I'm glad that they're not just going to, I'm trying to think of the words here, just ignore it, I guess. It seems like it's always been more like its own little niche community, and then you had like the Konami people that do the box openings and stuff, whereas it seems like Konami seems like they're trying to reach out a little bit. Maybe this will take a little bit more into like maybe even like the realms of prizing and stuff. Might listen to wider community complaints about stuff like that and make some changes, which, I would never expect them to do, but it gives me a little bit of hope.
I agree. I think the biggest way to look at this is like, because of how large a company like Konami is, like, things just can't just change in an instant. Like, they take forever to happen. Like, there's a lot of semantics that go into place. So the fact that we got, like, they did the first announcement at a YCS and it was like well received and like, all right, this is now going to be the starting trend, or like they took the feedback of like, okay, people are really like talking about this being the hit they want to see, so maybe that's what they did, and they just went through and did it. I wish we would actually get some like information to know if that's the case, but
yeah, I agree.
And with that, I think we're all ready to call it a wrap. I've tried to say this like 3 times, but then Noah keeps having like another bit to say.
man likes the yap. You can't judge him.
Man
Come
likes
on.
the yap. Game recognizes game. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. Thank you all for listening and or watching the blank screen. I don't know if we have a topic for next time, actually, because Alan.
We'll probably do one after Providence, is my guess.
Yeah,
so.
But like we could do one before Alan and after Providence if we wanted to. But I don't really have anything I'd want to talk about for that one yet. So
No, we could come up with the topics that have always been burning in our hearts, but have just been pushed out by all this current event stuff.
why they should put circular to 7.
Exactly.
And then I would complain
You
about
still
not being able to
wouldn't play
play 8
Math
of them.
Bank.
Thank you all for listening. Peace out.
Have a good one.
Nothing, Noah?
Bye.